This time on Rad Rat Video, we're talking about whether Session and Skater XL are the peak of sim technology in skateboarding, or if we could go further. I think we could, but there's a pretty good reason why we shouldn't. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, a channel where we talk about all different kinds of things in the skateboarding world. On this series, Ask Rad Rat, I answer your questions. You can submit your own by going to radratvideo.com and filling out the form on the homepage. Today, we've got our first question, which was from Patreon. If you submit it through Patreon, I will answer it either directly as a message or on air if it works in a video. This one is from Adnan H, who says, "Hi Aaron, super stoked about the content you've been uploading recently. I have two questions. First one is whether there are any tricks left to be discovered or not. Like, are there any tricks that are theoretically possible but haven't been figured out in practice yet?" He's got a second question. We'll get to that in a second. And I think definitely, if you're on Instagram and you see different people doing weird, crazy tech stuff that's never been done before, that happens all the time. So a lot of it is just no one's ever thought to do it. That's when I do something in freestyle that's like new, which I haven't done in a long time. But if you watch my Tricks and Tribulations videos over here, you'll see me redoing some of these crazy old tricks I did back in the day. And they were NBDs, but it wasn't because they're ridiculously hard. It's because nobody thought to do it yet. You know, it's just one of those things. And there's tons of stuff like that, not just flat ground tricks, but also combos. You know, like, has every flip been done into every grind? No, there's always going to be a little bit more. And there is a trick that I was thinking about. So there was a guy on a forum back in the day who invented this trick, and he claims to have done it, but this was around 2003, 2004, wasn't easy to share footage back in the day. But he called it the limo slide. And the idea was it's like a sideways primo slide. So imagine doing like a kickflip nose slide, but you only do a 3/4 flip and you land with one truck on the coping. So, got a freestyle board here. This is my smallest board. It'll fit on screen better. So here's the coping. Like, here's the edge right here. So one wheel is sliding on the coping like this. So you're doing like a nose slide, primo slide. And so he invented this idea, and he claims to have done it. Maybe he did, but you know, like, I've never seen that before. If that's possible, which it is, there's no reason why it shouldn't be possible. Then you could do all kinds of different versions of that. You could do it on the tail instead of the nose. You could do it, 1 1/4 flip instead of 3/4. You could do a shove it out. You could, as soon as something like that happens and people see that it's possible, then like, there's a lot more stuff there. So yeah, I definitely think there's a lot more to be done in skateboarding for decades to come. Okay, your next question is a little bit iffy. I'm a little worried about talking about it, but what is your opinion on Aaron Cairo's links to Scientology? I love what he did for skateboarding, and Braille is insanely entertaining, but Scientology just doesn't sit right with me. I was wondering what your opinion was on that. If you're not familiar with what he's talking about, there's a commercial that comes up sometimes on YouTube. I haven't seen it in a long time, but and he appears in it talking about how, like, it makes skateboarding easier because his mind is more clear or something like that. And like, yeah, obviously I agree with you. I've seen the documentaries, I've read the books. That was a big thing for me, was the books. I used to love those, reading through all of the stuff that happened and all the things that they would do and all the secret things that have been exposed and all of the beliefs about, the volcanoes and all that type of stuff. I'm at a weird point with it. On the one hand, you can believe what you want to believe. I'm not here to tell you that you aren't allowed to think something. But at some point, when the thing you believe is endangering people, or in this case, it financially bankrupts lots and lots of people, if that's the case, then there's a line somewhere. And I think promoting that is probably a pretty bad thing to do. So I won't go super deep into it. You've probably seen the documentaries and stuff. I'm sure 90% of the words I would use to talk about what they do will get me flagged on YouTube. But yeah, I wish he hadn't made a commercial for it, and I wish anyone involved in it would stop being involved in it. Okay, next question, Todd. For the physics series, what is the limit on frontside backside spinning on a skateboard? Is it physically possible to do a flat ground 900? So I gave this some thought, and I don't know how to research that. Like, I don't know what numbers to crunch to come up with an exact answer. So I have done lots of physics videos. You can check some out right here, where I calculate exactly how far you could go with something. How big of a drop could you do before your legs broke? I did one on how many flips you could do. But how much could you spin your body? I don't know where to look up for that. So it's going to be a little bit off the cuff, but so you've seen, ice skaters and gymnasts and everybody, they can do like a 1080 and it's no big deal on flat, right? But they have different techniques they can do that don't work on a skateboard. You know, like you can do some flips and that builds up some speed. And then that last one you jump like, 5 feet higher than you would normally. You can't do that on a skateboard, right? You have to just wind up and jump. You can't build up momentum by doing other stuff first. So, sure, you could do a 1080 on flat, but not with a skateboard. And the other big difference is that the way you spin faster is by pulling your body in. The more narrow you are, the faster you can spin. But the skateboard is the length that it is. So like if your feet are going to be on the bolts-ish to pull the board around, that's going to make it a lot harder. So just from what I've seen, I have seen 540s on flat. There's a guy who used to do them a lot, but he would like pivot and then ollie. So he would like do a fakie pivot and then a 360 ollie, which is a little bit not right. I think you could do a 540. I've seen enough cab 540s usually. Cab 540s on flat or down like 2 stairs or something like that, to imagine that a 720 might be possible. Flat ground 720 ollie, you'd probably pivot out, quite a bit of it, but I think that's probably about it. I can't imagine you could do much more than that, because we have to forget technique, forget how difficult it is, like how much could you physically do, and I think that's probably what the limit is. Again, I don't know what numbers to crunch to come up with a final answer for you on that, but I don't think a 900 is reasonable though. Okay, next question is from George W., who asks, hip hop, punk, or something else? What is your favorite genre of music to listen to whilst skating, and why? So people ask me about music all the time, and I never answer because I don't really listen to music, like in general. When skating or when anything, the only time there's music on is when I'm in the car. And the only place I ever go is the grocery store, which is about a mile away. So like straight up, I hear 4 songs a week, roughly. So, when I'm skating, it's almost never music. If it is, it's like 2000s hip hop, typically. But what I'm normally listening to while I'm going for a walk with Jake, or when sometimes I listen to music skating, or listen to things while I'm skating, but it's usually either an audiobook or a podcast. Recently, podcasts about Spider-Man. I've been getting really into Spider-Man stuff lately. Listening to a podcast on that. I have a coin collecting podcast I listen to. Different types of stuff. Kind of ebbs and flows. I'll get in the mood for different things at different times of the year. That's what it is right now. And so if you watch a video of me, like one of my Tricks and Tribulations videos, and I've got headphones in, I'm probably learning about the history of a weird comic book character or listening to a book. I usually say that for walks though, because I got to pay attention for that. So yeah, there's your answer. I almost never listen to music while I'm skating, and very rarely, unless it's background music. If I have friends over, not this year, but if I have friends over, there's usually something playing somewhere, but whatever. Okay, last question for today, or no, second to last, is from Oi yeah nah mate, who says, love the channel. I've been skating for about 3 years now and I feel stuck on tricks. I can ollie good, frontside 180, pop shove, kickflip, front shove, basic grinds, but I'm stuck on what to do. I skate in the same places whenever I skate, and while I'm skating, I try the same tricks over and over. Right now, backside 180 is the hardest trick I've tried to learn, and I always just try that and I can't seem to land it. Okay, so he's at a point where he doesn't know what to do. When he tries a new trick, he gets stuck and keeps trying it and doesn't move on. What can I do to help break that cycle of negativity? I'll give you a quick tip for a backside 180, which is to find really smooth ground and slide out like 90% of it. If you ollie and you turn like less than 90, you can still slide it out. It feels really good. It might look kind of dumb to start off with, but you know, doing backside, you can slide it out really easy. It's a lot harder to slide out frontside stuff, but if you spin just a little bit, land kind of nose heavy and whip your foot around, you'll be able to slide out. It's going to sound cool. It's going to feel cool. And you know, once you get that motion and that feeling of it, you can probably do a little bit more in the air and maybe just slide out 45 at the end or something like that. So there's my quick tip for that. The other tip is to keep your shoulders stay vertical. It's one big problem that I used to have too, where I would start to wind up and I would go this way and kind of like the board's this way. And as I go to pop, I'm pushing it away because I'm trying to look at the board. So I'm trying to lean forward past my knees, you know, and see where the board is. And then my weight isn't right. So try to keep your back straight and, you know, try the slide thing. That might help. But anyway, if you're focused on progressing that much, I think that's where the problem is if you're not having fun. One thing that's really fun to do that you can do, I'll do this sometimes, is find a couple of curbs, you know, in a parking lot or something like that. Like, you know, this way, do a stall on one, come back, do a stall on the other one, you know. Trying some transition, a ramp would be cool, but you know, like do a stall on a curb. Try to do like a Smith stall and then come over to this side and ollie in and see if you can tail stall on this one, do an axle stall, do a shove it out like that. You're not doing anything that you're going to want to film. You're not blowing minds with it, but it's fun. And I think that's a big thing. If you can just go out, you put your GoPro away, you're just kind of cruising around and having some fun. That's a really cool thing to do. If you could find a spot where there's like a bank with a parking block on top, that'd be great. But you don't need that. Just find something that's kind of fun that you haven't done before. And who cares if you're going to use those skills for something else? You know, like doing a Smith grind or Smith stall on a curb is not going to be super helpful in your skating, but it's fun. So that's my suggestion. Just find some stuff that you enjoy and don't worry about whether it's helping you progress or not. Just have fun with where you're at. Okay. Last question is from TCoreYT, who asks, what do you think the closest skateboarding sim will be like? A full VR rig on a quarter pipe with harnesses, or is Session really it? I think Session and Skater XL. I know there's more in Session, but it's less done. But this new generation of games is probably about as far as you would want to go. So I know there is a game in VR where you look down and you like kick at the board, and it from what I've seen in the trailer, I can't play any VR. I get sick instantly. So I'm never going to be able to review any of these. It feels like you're on your back throwing the board in the air because you like kick down and the board does a kickflip and then comes back up. But I think the problem with doing VR skateboarding is that it becomes less realistic the more detailed it gets. Because if you can't actually kickflip, you need to be able to kickflip in the game because it's a video game. So all you do is kind of kick your foot out. But the game has to interpret that some way. So like if I do a kickflip in Session or Skater XL, the guy slides his foot over to the edge, flicks his toe. It looks like a kickflip is supposed to. In VR, you're getting less accurate so that the person can do stuff. I need to be able to jump in the air and kick my feet out and have the board do something. It doesn't mean that trick is actually a real thing. So I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but I think in VR, the more granular the control is, the less accurate the game can be. So I think having 2 sticks, 1 for each foot in a skate game is about as far as you can get. If the next generation, I mean, the controllers are out, there aren't extra buttons, but if there were, that's the only thing you could really do is more grab possibilities and stuff like that if there were more buttons. But I don't think going into VR is really going to make it any better. So I said in the beginning that we could go further, but I don't think we should. And the reason why is because of the things that don't work in Skater XL in session is there's no fear, first of all. That's a big thing. Like I could grind on a ledge down some stairs. I have the tools to do that. I can ollie high enough. I've done lots of 50-50s. I know how to drop off of them. My balance is good enough. Why can't I grind every ledge in the world? Because it's scary, right? There's no way to do that in a game. The only way I've been doing some brainstorming on this, and the only way I could think that would work is if your character would get hurt. So let's say, you know, in Skate 3, you had a team and you had to film a video and you would play as the different people on your team. If you had like a team of skaters and every time one got hurt, they were out for like a week, and maybe you could skate, but they were more likely to get hurt again and hurt worse. So you could switch to a different team member and skate as them for a while. And if they all get hurt, then you just can't play the game for a week. Like, that doesn't sound fun. But that's the only way I could think where you would actually be scared to try stupid stuff. You know, like that, it would have to be like jump off a building and do a 360 hard flip or something like that. To grind on a hand rod down some stairs, I don't think you could really do this type of thing. But yeah, having some level of fear, maybe your character is too scared to do something so he doesn't react when you try to ollie. Like you push up to the spot and you bend down and you let go and he just like drags his foot and stops because he's too scared to do it. I mean, that's the only way you could get more realistic. But yeah, I don't think you should do that. The only other thing that came to mind is, okay, let's picture that team again. So, you know, this guy gets hurt, you gotta switch to your next team person. What if they all skated differently? So the thing about Skate in Session and Skater XL is that the skills of the skater come from you as the player. So as you get better at playing, you can do more stuff. But in real life, it's not like that. No matter how simple the control is, I wouldn't be able to do a switch inward heel flip, let's say. Or, you know, your favorite pro can do a waist high heel flip every time. You'll never see him do a switch hard flip though, you know? So like with that type of thing, if every skater in your team had different abilities, this guy can ollie really high and spin fast. This guy can flip his tricks really quickly. This guy pushes extra hard so he can go faster at stuff. This guy has less of a fear meter, that type of thing. That's the only way I think games could get more realistic. If you had to plan your tricks out based on what your character could do, I do think there's something there, because I was just talking about in Skate, when you in Skate 3, you build up your team and you have your roster of characters or all created skaters, and you film stuff as each of them. It's a waste of time because even though they look different, they all play exactly the same. There's no, it doesn't matter which one you're skating as. But if you could do something differently like that, and it helped and it rewarded you for doing the tricks that fit in with your skater, you know, if the heel flip guy, you did a heel flip as him, that would give you some sort of benefit. I think that's the only way you could get more realistic than what we've got now. Also in Skater XL, your stats are like absurd. There is a California skate park. I forget what it's actually called, like Poods Park or something like that. There's like a volcano, I think it's called, where it's like a quarter pipe, but it goes in a circle. So it's, you know, like a triangle. And you could fly up that thing in Skater XL. You could do like a nollie heel flip 720 and clear the entire thing, clear the fence for the skate park. There's like a ledge there, land in the parking lot. I saw on Instagram somebody do like a ollie from one side to the other, and it was ridiculous, you know? So like, yeah, you could tone down the stats to make it more realistic, but yeah, I think those are the only things that I could really think of. The one other thing was an idea I had when I was a kid. I used to design video games in a notebook, just on paper, like sketch out my ideas and write them all out. And the idea that I had was that you had to learn tricks. So, you know, again, you can just fire up any of those games I'm talking about, do this and something happens. But what if you started the game, you could only ollie and you had to learn how to kickflip? That would be more realistic, but whether it would be fun or not is a different story. So the way I was designing this was before Skate came out. I was thinking about it as like a button combination. You had to do like a cheat code level difficulty to make the board do a kickflip. And then once you landed it once, it would get a little bit simpler. And then at some point it would just be like left square, you know? So now what would that look like with like a twin stick control? You'd have to be like, you have to go in a certain direction and then come down slightly, and you have to just swoop your foot around to get ready to catch it. And like, you know, just really, really complicated control until you learned the trick. And if you did it enough times, then it just becomes a default thing. So yeah, the fun factor of that seems relatively low. You know, like it would be weird if I did a 360 flip and then a backside flip, then I went to do a switch 360 flip in the game and my character didn't know how to do it. It'd be kind of weird, but that would make it more realistic. So anyway, that's why I said that I don't think they should get any more sim, but they could. But that's what I had for that. If you have any more questions, again, you can go to Patreon and sponsor me there and send a question. You can go to radratvideo.com. You can browse through these handsome shirts and you can submit your questions there on the homepage as well. And that's it for now. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.